Hello, welcome to the Caffeinated Mammal Compilation Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fox. On this episode, we have Matt Evans, formerly of Old Flings, and Grant McCracken of Bitter Melody Records. They talk about the history of Old Flings, Matt's current projects, and Matt gives us a performance of two of the Old Flings songs. We are in the studio with Matt Evans from Old Flings.
Hello.
And Grant McCracken from Bitter Melody Records.
Hi.
So, introduce yourselves officially.
Matt Evans. I was the guitar player and songwriter for Old Flings, band out of North Carolina.
And currently you are...
And currently I play guitar in a band called Serrate from Asheville, North Carolina. Two different styles of music, if you're listening.
Yeah.
And I'm Grant McCracken. I do Bitter Melody Records. I guess it's in year 14 as a label, but it's kind of hit or miss label, you know, like you're releasing, I don't know, it's kind of across the board genre-wise, I guess. Yeah. But I was, Old Flings was one of those bands, was probably one of the first bands that like, we all were starting together pretty much, because I was at some of the first Old Flings shows, and then the label was just a fledgling thing then.
And for context, I believe the band was active around 2009, 10 to 16. I think those were the years.
Yeah, and we were
playing.
playing
The label started
a ton of shows together in like 2010, 2012-ish.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
Yeah.
And the label started in 2010.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it made sense because Grant was a friend, and I feel like we got we squeezed the rag and got a lot of water out of it.
Yeah.
There for a while.
And I didn't know you guys. Matt also played in a band called Just Die before that, and I didn't know any of them very well in Just Die.
Yeah.
I'd seen you, but we didn't really talk. I do remember you giving me a Teenage Heart CD in the line at Fest.
Oh yeah.
One year, and then
Dan Neiman called me a racist.
Yeah.
And that in the line, Dan Neiman from Lifetime and Paint It Black, because I don't know why the album art for the Teenage Heart CD
had a monster on it.
Well, had a monster on it, and it was yellow, so I have no idea what he was referring to.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that was just like the thing. I just like handed him a CD, and he was like, "Thanks, racist." And I was like, I don't understand what
that was like a term of endearment.
I met him many years later, and he was the sweetest guy ever, but I just thought that was the funniest thing.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Not to name drop, but that was just like a highlight from that Fest line of me passing out CDs.
Yeah.
But yeah. That was a short-lived band, too. I was always I think I like 4 different projects at one time, usually was my MO.
And so Old Flings started as like a solo thing.
Yeah, so it came to fruition because Dave, the drummer of Just Die, his wife Julie is an amazing artist and would do this collective called Noteworthy Drawing Club with her friend Brooke. And what they would do is they would find these really interesting stories, and they would do sketches of them and paintings, and they would, I guess maybe more so just sketches. They would have art shows for them, and they asked me to write a few songs about some of the sketches. So the songs that came from the sketches were a song called Stranded that was on so let me back up. I released the Old Flings demo and then a acoustic EP around the same time, and they have the same songs, except the solo EP has a song called Stranded, which came from one of those writings. The song Honest off the Spite record, Old Flings released one LP. It was called Spite. Had a song called Honest on it. That was one of the songs. And Postcards was on Spite. That was one of the songs from one of the Noteworthy events. I think that's it. There's another one. Nope, I think that's it, yeah. But yeah, it was born out of that. And then Jordan Luff, who played bass in Old Flings, he was the other constant member, was in Just Die with me. He was like my best friend. He helped me put the songs together in a electric format and just kind of went from there. And then before we knew it, we had albums worth of songs.
Yeah, you went from like some like moody acoustic stuff to like just straight ripping rock and roll.
Yeah, I really at the time was into Gin Blossoms, and Same I Am is my favorite band.
Yeah, we've talked about that. You sent me some Where to Start recs a little while back, and thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely. So I wanted to start a band that sounded like the Gin Blossoms and Same I Am with the songs that I had, and it just kind of made sense to have like some 90s radio rock. And I like playing distorted guitars and crooning. I can't sing very well, but I think I can croon okay. So
what was your recommendation to start with Same I Am?
Probably Astray.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the
It's funny because at one time I would have said clumsy, but
yeah.
over time, like some of the older ones, I feel like are more of my favorites. Like I feel like now, like whatever gets you down, like is
Oh yeah.
a go-to.
That's a good one.
But I do
You're
love
freaking
Astray,
me out.
and I didn't
Yeah,
really.
clumsy. Yeah.
I mean, I liked a few of the hits off Astray, but it took me a while to get into like the full record of it. I mean, like Sunshine and Dull, of course. But
They were just a band that wasn't on my radar at the time, and so I missed
Oh man,
the whole thing.
phenomenal. Yeah, I lived in I grew up in Cherokee County, North Carolina, which is nowhere. And we had a Walmart where I could buy CDs, but I think I went to like Chattanooga one time and bought one of the Hopelessly Devoted to You comps. And one of the songs from Astray, one of the songs from Astray and a B-side was on that comp, Dull. And that I was like, oh man, I was probably 13, I think, maybe. Anyway, I was like, I gotta cool. If this is gonna be a band, this is like gonna be my favorite band. I've never had one of those before. And I remember trying to find their CDs or whatever you couldn't do it. They were so I don't know what was going on, but they had a huge resurgence. And actually, Old Flings, it all came full circle with me when we played Fest one time, and I got to do a podcast with Serrate, the guitar. He's like the songwriter from Sam I Am, so that was like a highlight for me.
So you actively chose this is going to be my favorite band. It was like kind of organic, but also
Yeah, I think it was like I really like this song. Let me see if I can find more. And
I like football. They were Panthers. That's the team for me.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of amazing. I guess they were in that when all the poppier punk bands were getting swept up and major labels and everything. They ended up on a major label.
Yeah.
And then they were one of the few that was able to survive it.
Yeah,
And just like, oh, we're not on a major label anymore. We're back on indies, and they've made a career out of it.
Constant lineup changes, but the core members were always there, Sergey and the singer. But anyway, so I wanted to have a band that kind of could. Someone like Sam I Am, maybe they would also like my band. I think we got pretty close with it.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I definitely like when I started going back and listening. I'm like, oh, I see.
Yeah.
Directly this influence, but also the Jim Blossoms thing.
Yeah. Like the voicings on the guitar. Like if we're talking about songwriting, like I really like punk music and hardcore music, and I played in that kind of those styles of bands. So I really like just playing the not open chords per se, but playing open strings with the power chords.
Yeah.
And then kind of the Old Flings, I was always just still am guitar player first. Maybe singer second, lyricist third. So I think that really shows in Old Flings because I really phoned in a lot of lyrics on the Old Flings record.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. We were like, I don't even know what song to talk about.
Yeah.
They had 4 lines and they weren't like.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember which covers you did because I know you did a Gin Blossoms. I feel like the covers you did, you played them at like a couple shows and then they were done.
We did a Smashing Pumpkins one time.
Let's talk about.
And you
the
did Third Eye
thing.
Blind.
Third Eye
I think
Blind.
Gillen played that Third Eye Blind one time. Maybe,
at a festival in Richmond. Yeah.
You played.
Did
We
you
were
play
never
at
getting
Urban
back
Outfitters?
together. Right when Red came out.
Yeah,
and
that was Jordan's idea. Yeah.
That was your album release show for Spite, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But my favorite covers moment, and I think we talked about this a while back too, when we were playing these little shows at Copper Bean, and the lady who ran it was like very specifically like, no covers ever, because she didn't want to like pay the rights to whatever. And so we were playing a show together, and I was like, hey, like the lady said, no covers, and you guys played like a handful of your songs. You completely fucking switched, and the latter half of your set was all covers.
Yeah.
And it was
we would play.
fine
BMI and
punk rock
ASCAP
moment.
came and decapitated her.
We were always kind of turds like that, though. Like when they would be like, "Turn your guitar down," I'd be like, "Okay," and I'd walk and turn it up. We would do face to face stuff like just easy. We did Descendant songs. We would just play easy songs.
You Dole.
We did
Sam
Dull
Ram.
once, yeah.
I think you did a Third Eye Blind thing.
Yeah, we did
Urban Outfitters. I remember
Losing a whole
of you
year,
playing
yeah.
at Urban Outfitters, right?
Yeah,
And
that was the worst show ever.
Yeah, and Travis
Travis sang the verse of that
one,
song.
yeah.
And so to know the story of Old Flings, we had Travis was the drummer, also best friend. He started the band with us and then quit to become a truck driver. And it was like right as like if we never got big or popular or anything, but like I would say at whatever the height of whatever trajectory we were on, Travis dipped out.
You were on the precipice at that point. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, like we would have something maybe could have happened one day. I don't know, but like Travis dipped out, and then our friend Phil came in, and then Phil was with us for a good amount of time, and then we got our friend Springs to play drums after Phil. So they were all phenomenal drummers and people, but all different
Travis
people.
was a great drummer.
Yeah, so
and he's never really drummed since.
And what was surprising me was it was all like easy. It was like Jordan was my best friend. Travis was another best friend. I lived with Travis, so it was like just super easy. And Travis was like, I play drums. I'm like, okay, cool. No one ever heard Travis play drums, but y'all, it all worked out. So
He was your roommate, and you
boom.
were just like, I make
Yeah.
drums, cool.
And yeah, I mean, it was the band I traveled with the most, I think. It was definitely the band that people recognized me from, I think, if anybody ever recognizes me.
And you went to Europe, too?
Went to Europe, yep.
Which is
So
very cool.
the band ended, that was the last John of the band. We went to Europe and played 16 days with a band called Spill out of Pennsylvania, who had members of other bands at the time. And then that was pretty much it. We played one more show. We did Fest 4 years, Fest in Gainesville. We did that 4 years in a row. But I think the problem with the band was we never, if there was any sort of traction that we got after the LP, we should have done a second LP. And I was like, oh, I want to put 7 inches out. And we ended up doing, I think, 4 proper 7 inches. And then we did a couple 7 inches where people took songs, like just songs off of Spite or B-sides or whatever, and did, like we did a split with Game Face, which was, interesting. And they just basically took a song off of Spite and put on there. We did like a 4-way split, I think, with some bands from out of the country, and they just took a song off Spite. But the goal was to write another LP, and then I just used all the songs. And honestly, I think with y'all in here, I think those were the better songs. Like, I think Spite was just me turning acoustic songs that I wrote about art into a cohesive album, and then the other songs were like where I actually started playing. Like, I started thinking about what I was like actually trying to say or write.
Yeah, those songs came from the heart of the band itself versus you and an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, and we
decided to make it louder.
Absolutely, and we kind of found ourselves. Like, I was actually learning how to sing a little bit, and kind of learning like my friend Steve gets really mad at me. He was an English teacher, and he'd be like, the phrases that you use in Old Flings songs aren't real phrases, right? And I was like, yeah, I guess the grammar's not there, but it is what it is. So,
is there a specific example of one of those?
There is. Probably, I can't think of one. Yeah, but yeah, I think they're all kind of scattered through. He'd be like, this doesn't make any sense, right? So, no, I didn't. I just wanted to write the song, and here we go. We play it, and I like to bang my head when we play. So.
Yeah. Well, I love the 7-inch. I did, and we talked about this a little bit before we started all this. But I had a little bit of guilt in hindsight, because I feel like, Old Flings was taking off, and like there was a lot of people pulling at everybody, and everybody, wanted to keep a little piece of Old Flings before you blew up, and doing all those 7 inches with everybody. I really feel like it could have changed that trajectory. I'm blanking on words.
Okay.
Of the band if those songs had been LP2. And I know I was guilty of it too because I really wanted to do that 7-inch. And the 7-inch I did was the Old Flings Fake Boys split because Fake Boys,
which is probably my favorite.
I loved
2 songs that we wrote.
What were the 2 songs on that one specifically?
Funeral Mixtape, which is like a losing religion, growing old song, and then Small Towns, which is about suicide. Where I grew up, I lost a bunch of friends.
And I had an inside track, I think, because I'd seen all those songs played, and I was like, I want Funeral Mixtape.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's hone in on that one.
Okay.
A little bit more. Like Funeral Mixtape, you said it was kind of like you're growing up and growing out of that space, or?
Yeah, so Funeral Mixtape, I don't know what was going on in my head, and it's really, I think back on this time, I'm in upper 30s now, and at that time I was probably in my mid-20s, and I was like, man, I was angsty. I was watching a lot of Dawson's Creek. Still haven't finished the whole run yet. But that song in particular, I grew up in a very faith-based community, which is great. I mean, I think people, that's good for people. But some of us kind of grow out of it, I guess, to a certain point, and that was the lyrics. There weren't a lot of lyrics, but it was essentially just like battling with the confliction of like, is heaven real or is it not real? Is everything we've done 3 times a week for our whole lives, is it just there for community, or? And then the chorus just kind of hits on this like, we're never getting younger, like we might as well live in now. Yeah. So that was pretty much the gist of that song. That one may have had a grammatical error in it too. So, yeah. But that was probably one of my more favorite Old Fling songs. And then I think the others...
brought out the hardcore in Travis too, because I remember that him just like punching his bass and screaming the one line.
And he wasn't even on that. He wasn't on those. So that was...
I mean, not did I say Travis? Jordan.
Oh, Jordan, yeah. So, Jordan. And Jordan started doing background vocals. So that was one where he did background vocals.
Cool.
And
Holding on to hope while you're hanging by the rope.
Yep, holding
That's
on to hope while you're hanging by the rope. Yep, he would scream in it. Yep, we got to throw that little scream in there. I think we could have done those songs, and just so folks know, like we recorded all the 7-inch. If you ever go try to dig around for Old Fling stuff, we recorded all the songs in like a storage unit with Springs, who's in the band. He did a phenomenal job with it. But like, if we could have taken all the 8 or 9 songs and added a couple more and done a proper LP, I think it would have been a really solid, like a record I would have been really proud of. Because there was another song on one of those 7 inches called "It's Not You," which people seem to like, which I really like to play. There was only like one filler song that we did on a split with a band called Late Bloomer from Charlotte. I wrote a song called "Brother," and it was just like the only filler song I think I ever tried to write. So, yeah, it's still cool. I mean, I didn't like it as much.
That was pretty on the nose with Sam I Am Worship. Was it that one? I feel like it was on the Late Bloomers. There was one song I was like, this sounds like a Sam I Am.
We did a song. It might be one of the breakups. We did a split with this band called the Breakups from the UK.
Which is just cool enough. Like, having your 2 names on a split together, Old Flings and the Breakups, like that's...
And it had incredible artwork. It was like 2 people holding hands on a park bench, but it was like drawn out, and it was incredible artwork. So, cool. But anyway, yeah. I mean, I like those. And then I think the other song we'll probably focus on is "Grip," which is people will always like to hear it whenever we played. So, and that has a little bit of a story too. I had a relationship at one point in time where, I don't know if y'all have ever experienced this or anybody listening to this has ever experienced it, where you can just basically like be around each other, not have to do anything, but just like really enjoy each other's company. And this particular individual, like I remember just standing out in the street, like I would walk them home, and then we would just stand there holding each other's hands and then just like look at each other for like an hour and a half. And the problem was I outsourced my love a lot back then. So meaning like I would always find people to be with that didn't live in Asheville. So this particular person lived out of town, and they were going to be leaving after a certain amount of time, and we knew it was like going to stop, right? So like we found each other, and then we really liked each other, and then it was like, well, it's not going to be a thing because you live like on the other side of the country.
This is somebody different than some of the Spite.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of the Spite songs aren't even about people.
Yeah.
But that's, like everybody seems to think that Spite, the song, which again, you have to, I assume that you've ever listened to Old Flings. There's a song called Spite that's got some pretty hateful lyrics. It's not about anybody. It's just kind of like, it's just a song. It just popped in my head. So
it's easy to make
songs
about people, especially the listener, I mean,
But Grip, I can't remember how I learned, I figured out what riff I was going to play, but it had a cool little bass intro that started the song, and then it's like, this croon over it.
Yeah, and so I like hearing the story behind, because the chorus says, and I'm going to botch these lyrics, "Tonight your grip on my hand is something." I can't remember the second line, but then it's like, "If memory holds true, then distance won't mean shit, and I'll find my way back to you." Like
so that's it. That's actually it. Yeah, that's actually, I don't think I ever told that story to anybody, but that's actually, it was like, that one was actually about someone.
Cool.
And then there were a couple other songs on the record that were about, there's a song on there called "Apathetic" that's actually about a person. And then
I don't know if it's me, but like I really want, when I listen to music, I really want there to be a true story behind it. I don't know. I remember when I was reading the article with Saves the Day, and they were talking about like Through Being Cool and how almost all those lyrics were just writing exercises in a creative writing class. And I remember feeling kind of bummed, like, like you didn't have somebody who went to Costa Rica and you missed because like that kind of bummed me out.
So a lot of the songs I had like a line that was about someone, but the whole song wouldn't be about someone. So like Postcards had a line that it talked about being like Ohio was a reference to whatever art Julie and Brooke were doing, but like the actual story behind like a couple lines was about an individual. And then TBC, I probably like referenced my friends group in it a lot because they would all go at each other's throats. Instead of Jackets was another song on the Old Flings LP where like a lot of my friends didn't get along with each other, and that's what that song was about.
TBC stands for Top Button Club?
Top Button Club, yeah. And it was funny because a lot of my friends at the time were buttoning their top button. I just thought it was so weird. But they probably thought things I was doing was weird at the same time, too. But it was all in good fun, though.
Yeah.
I mean, like not
well,
being
and that
bad
video is just a bunch of different people in button-ups.
Yeah.
And button all the way ups.
Yeah.
So, and then Senseless is a song that I had on the demo And I think some of it was just me feeling like I was never emotionally available. Like just kind of basically just being an asshole. In that sense of like you're with a partner and then you're just not really ever there like fully emotionally as one might be when they're in their early 20s. So that's what that song's about.
But art-wise, I know the Old Flings Spite artwork was, if you look at it, it's a compilation of like old love letters, and those really were real.
Yeah, those are real.
Yeah.
People. So the Spite artwork is it's a background of letter, like handwritten letters, and then there's a hand drawn, like a hand cut out heart. And I wrote Old Fling Spite on it, and me and Grant put it together on my kitchen table, and
it was
before
like 2
a show.
in the morning. It was before like the Family Cat run, I think.
Yeah, but
the record was done at that point.
Yeah, I think the record was done.
Yeah, the record was done, and was just like needed art and.
But I had a
middle of the night, cutting and gluing.
Yeah, there was a really nice.
You just had all of those.
Yeah, there was a nice girl that sent me a bunch of letters. Like we had a relationship at one point, and then I wouldn't call it dating per se because I outsourced my love, but she would write me a bunch of letters.
You were pen pals.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think she would write me letters. I don't remember if I wrote her letters, but.
Did you get her permission to use those
I did,
letters?
yeah. So I was like, hey, just a heads up, I'm putting this record out. Is it okay if I use your letters? And she said, oh, that's the coolest thing ever. And nothing on the record, nothing on the cover of the record's like super personal that I can remember. It's like, can't wait to see you, that kind of stuff.
Weird and steamy.
No, there's no steamy stuff.
50 Shades kind of.
And I was never, no, and I was never a 50 Shades kind of person anyway. So like it was all kind of just nice, like just really nice stuff from someone.
Yeah.
But.
It was funny because somebody could look at that and think, "Oh, this is just graphic design."
Yeah, but those are real letters, and it fit the the theme of Old Flings was like it's called Old Flings. It's cheesy, you know what I mean? And like, why not use a heart? And then I think we kind of grew out of that after because Sean, like when you start a band, you don't know what's going to happen. Like for that, I just wanted to play some songs, like just see what happens. And I remember recorded the demo for Old Flings, and it like got some traction. And I was like, oh, okay, so.
Yeah, they're solid songs that resonate.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it for me, not to toot my own horn here, but like I would ask people like, "Oh, what song do you want to?" And everybody had a different favorite song. So I was like, "Well, that's cool."
Well, you asked me that too. You're like, when I was saying, "Come on, I don't know this, pick one."
Yeah. So yeah.
And then I think, are you good? Do you mind doing both of the grip and funeral mixtape
absolutely,
that we talked about? We the typical format of this is one tune, but I feel like those are both standout tracks, and it'd be cool to.
Absolutely.
Both of those. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you guys want to add before we cut over to that part?
You should check out Serrate, his massive new band.
So I've got a new band that's like a loud, screamy kind of band called Serrate. Grant put out the tape. We play a lot of shows around our area where we live. It's really fun.
Yeah, stellar riffs.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just like to play.
You're a riff guy.
I am a riff guy. I'm always a guitar player first.
Yeah.
So I've played guitar most of my life. So
cool.
Even though it doesn't seem like it sometimes.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I appreciate having you here to talk. Grant, thanks for also hanging.
Yeah, sure.
It was a pleasant surprise when you walked in the door too. So
we just grabbed coffee before we came, and
and it's nice. This is almost intentional hanging out. We just run into each other in Target all the time, or like downtown at the farmers market, and like, hey. That's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, right on. Here's Matt Evans from Old Flings performing Funeral Mixtape and Grip.
Blinded by faith, they live by the book, 'cause everything great, they were holding out for heaven. And everyone is everywhere, penning cents to blank stairs. We're calling out to heaven, but I will never be young again. We sold our souls, we sank our teeth in. Heaven's full of liars, hell's where we'd rather be anyway. And it'll never be the same again. We'll go on strong, stop believing. Heaven's full of liars, hell's where we'd rather be anyway. Shower in shame, a house full of hate, yet we're to blame. There's no place for us in heaven. day came, and the day came. I was hanging my head and I was cursing my name. I was calling out to heaven that we'll never be young again. We sold our souls, we sank our teeth in. Heaven's full of liars, yeah, where we'd rather be anyway. And if never be the same again, go on strong, stop believing. Heaven's full of liars, yeah, where we'd rather be anyway. And the holding on to hope while they're hanging by the rope. And the holding on to hope while they're hanging by the rope. And we'll never be young again. We sold our souls, we sink our teeth in. Heaven's full of liars, hell's where we'd rather be anyway. And it'll never be the same again. Go on strong, stop believing. Heaven's full of liars, hell's where we'd rather be anyway. So we've come to this, hesitated, stare. We fight to find the words that never seem there. Oh, but patience willing for a moment that's killing me. Goodbyes were meant to last. But if holding our tongues means we can keep this forever, let's never speak again. Because tonight your grip on my hand is saying everything needs to be said, and if memory holds true, distance won't mean shit, and I'll find my way back to you. So we've come to this, hesitated, stare. We fade into the night as we pretend not to care. That hope is leaning on this notion that goodbyes were meant to last. But if holding our tongues means we can keep this forever, let's never speak again. 'Cause tonight your grip on my hand is saying everything needs to be said, and if memory holds true, distance won't mean shit, and I'll find my way back to you. Lost in the night, your grip on my hands, saying everything needs to be said, and every memory holds true. Distance won't mean shit, and I'll find my way back to you.
You guys did that whole Spite record in like pretty much one take.